Hello everyone. My name is Jenny. Today we are going to learn about how to answer Ielts speaking questions. Part 1. Yes, no questions. Now, remember in Part 1, you will get a lot of simple questions. But we need to give long, complex answers, with good vocabulary, and good grammar points. And, focusing on yes, no question. They might ask you a question like, can you play a musical instrument? Here is an example of a poor answer to that. Yes, I can play a musical instrument. And one of my favorite instrument is piano. So that wasn't particularly good answer, because it was an incredibly short answer. The grammar and vocabulary were very simple. And it just repeated the question. Can you play a musical instrument? Yes, I can play a musical instrument. It didn't demonstrate your ability in English to say the same thing in different way. And, the answer would have been just a little better if you would just immediately tell them what instrument you play, like yes, I can play the piano. Now let's take a look at another example in which we show you an example of a much better answer. Here it is. To be honest, I don't play any musical instruments and frankly none of my friends do either. I've always wished I'd taken up a musical instrument. I'd love to be able to play the piano. In my hometown, many of the schools don't have the financial resources to offer music classes. And most parents would prefer to have their children focused on pragmatic skills like math and reading, instead of music. Some good vocabulary we used in that example were: taken up a musical instrument, financial resources, pragmatic skills. So that was a much better answer. It had better vocabulary, and it was longer and more complete. However, you should be careful with the answer no. It almost stops you and limits you in what you can say next. If you respond with no answer, back it up with why not. You'll be able to give a longer answer and demonstrate your ability to speak English more. Now let's talk about a structure we can use to answer yes or no type questions. At the beginning statement, we'll say something like, well, in reality I suppose that to some extent. I guess that on the one hand. Well, certainly in some ways. And, we use your expression yes answer, like. Especially when you consider that. Particularly if you think about. Especially with regards to the point that. Then, you give your no answer, such as. But you also have to understand that. Even so you could also say that. At the same time, you could say that. And then, you will give the conclusion. So all in all, my answer will be both yes and no. All things considered, my answer would be both yes and no. So, what other yes, no questions? They could be.
Is watching TV a popular activity in your country? Do you think it is important to play sports or do physical exercise? Is fast food popular in your country? Is healthy eating important? Is education free in your country?
Now we're going to take an in-depth look, using the structure we just learned to answer the question.
Is the food expensive in your country?
Here it is. Well, certainly in some ways, the food in my country is inexpensive. Especially, most people here spend small ballpark a day on food. And budget-strapped travelers can live off street food, for smaller budget. At the same time, any Western food is extremely expensive. Because the ingredients often have to be imported, from other countries. So, on the whole the answer would be both yes and no. These are some good vocabulary we used. Small ballpark. Budget-strapped. Ingredients. So using the structure really helps you make the answer much longer on the same topic, which is essentially what you're going to be tested on. Because it gives you more opportunity to demonstrate your English speaking abilities. Sometimes your answer can be in the negative. But you should always try to answer in the positive. Because it's much easier to talk in the positive and to use vocabulary in the positive. Even if your answer is not specifically true, it doesn't really matter. It's usually easier to talk in the positive when answering, so try to do that. Thanks so much, and see you soon.